Stride Audio Show.
Presented by Speak English with Us.
Have you ever been chatting with a foreign friend and suddenly hit that weird silence, like the topic's just dried up and you don't know how to move on?
Oh yeah? That freezing moment when you feel the whole conversation just stalls. You're staring at the screen or the group, hoping someone else will save you.
This episode is for anyone who's felt stuck in a chat, not knowing how to smoothly switch topics. That awkward pause, it's the worst.
For sure. And don't worry, this is a B1 level episode, perfect for intermediate learners. Beginners, you're welcome too.
So here's the deal. We've discovered a really simple way to keep your conversations flowing by building what we call a topic bridge. It's a technique to link what your friend just said to something new, so the chat never feels forced or sudden.
And that's not all. We'll share real examples of how to do it naturally, plus a tiny trick that makes it way easier.
Quick question right now. How many awkward silences have you had in your English chats? 0, 1, 2. Or too many to count? Take a second to think about it.
I bet a lot of listeners hit too many on that.
Listen, this feeling happens because our brains need a smooth flow in conversation. When you lose the flow, it's hard to keep going.
Exactly. But if you catch the right cue from what your friend says and build a connection, a bridge, if you will, you can shift gears and introduce something fresh without it feeling weird.
We'll break down the steps, repeating a key idea, saying something like "speaking of that," and asking an open-ended question that invites your friend to share more.
It really changes the dynamic. No more awkward silences or feeling like a topic killer.
So, wherever you are, Zoom calls, small meetups, or casual chats, this episode is going to help you sound more natural and keep the conversation flowing.
And I'm guessing most of you are listening while multitasking, or maybe even sneaking a peek at your phone, trying to avoid that silence yourself.
I can totally relate.
So stay with us till the end for our word tour. We'll unpack 5 key expressions we keep using today. Trust me, you'll want to use these.
And later, we'll share one tiny trick you can try right now for your next chat. But first, let's dive in.
So, Maya, picture this last week. I was on a group Zoom call with some friends. We were chatting about work stress, and then suddenly, nothing. The conversation just froze. I could feel myself sweating, trying to think of something to say. But I just kind of froze, too.
Oh, wow, that freezing feeling is so real. It's like your brain hits a pause button, but everyone else is still watching. You're left staring, wishing for a cue to jump back in.
Exactly. And then the silence stretches and it gets worse. People start checking their phones or looking away. That awkward pause. It kills the flow of the conversation.
That's the exact moment when the conversation breaks down because there's no natural bridge to move from one topic to another. The smooth flow stops and everything feels clunky.
So what do you do then? Just wait for someone else to break the silence? Or awkwardly change the subject out of nowhere?
That's the problem many learners face. They don't know how to connect what's been just said to a new idea, so shifts in topic feel unnatural. But there's a way to avoid that.
Let's role play, shall we? I'll act out a typical awkward chat, and you can stop me when I mess up soundly.
Perfect. Go ahead.
So, you work late nights a lot, huh?
Hold on that and jumping straight into a new question feels forced. There's no connection to what I just said. It sounds choppy, like you're shifting gears without warning.
Oh, I didn't realize that. How would a native speaker do it?
A native speaker would try to bridge the old topic to the new one. For example, if you're talking about work stress, you could say, "That sounds tough. Speaking of long hours, have you found any good ways to relax after work?"
So you're repeating the core point, showing you're listening, and then leading into a new topic with a connecting phrase.
Right? Or you could say, by the way, have you seen any good movies lately? After talking about work stress. It feels natural because you're linking ideas smoothly.
Okay, that sounds tough. By the way, have you watched any good movies lately?
Spot on. That's a great example of bridging topics to keep the conversation flowing.
It really helps to catch that cue something your friend says that signals where the talk can go next.
Exactly. Those cues are your clues, your openings. If you miss them, you feel stuck.
And missing the cues is exactly why I sometimes feel like a topic killer in group chats.
We've all been there. And that's why having a simple framework makes it easier to catch those moment-to-moment cues and respond naturally.
Let's break down the steps clearly so people can try it themselves.
Step 1 is to listen carefully to what your friend just said. Then repeat the core part of their message with a little comment, like, "That's really interesting," or "I can imagine."
Step 2 is to add a bridge phrase. Something like, "Speaking of that, by the way," or "That reminds me."
Then step 3 is to ask an open-ended question that encourages your friend to share more. That means questions that can't be answered with just yes or no. For example, what do you think about? Or how do you usually deal with?
It's almost like building a little bridge from one topic to the next, and that keeps the flow, the smooth progression going naturally.
Yes. And when you're in the flow, conversations don't feel like a struggle. They just happen.
Here's a real example from a recent chat I had. My friend was talking about feeling stressed at work. I said, "That must be exhausting. By the way, have you tried any new hobbies to relax?" Then they started telling me about painting. The conversation just took off from there.
That's a perfect example of spotting the cue, making a bridge, and shifting gears smoothly.
But sometimes it doesn't go so well. Like when you shift gears too quickly or without a bridge, the conversation kind of crashes.
Which leads to those embarrassing silences we all dread.
I remember one awkward meeting where I tried to shift gears with, "Anyway, what's new?" The room just went silent. No cues connected.
That's why context matters. The bridge phrase has to relate to what was just said. Otherwise, it feels random and can kill the flow.
So crafting a good bridge is like building a mini conversation road. If the road is shaky or missing, people stumble.
Exactly. And when you master it, you'll stop feeling like the conversation police shutting everything down.
Let's make it practical. To practice, try this exercise next time you chat in English.
After someone makes a statement, repeat a key point, plus a short comment. Then add your bridge phrase and finally ask an open-ended question related to the bridge.
For example, if someone says, "I had a tough day at work," you could reply, "That sounds rough." Speaking of work, how do you manage stress usually?
And be patient with yourself. This skill isn't instant. But every time you try, you gain more confidence and the flow improves.
And by the way, there's a special phrase we'll focus on soon that captures this whole idea perfectly. It's called shift gears. We'll break it down later.
Great. That's a wrap for this story and connection part. Understanding why conversations stall and how to build bridges is key. So, we've talked about how using the topic bridge technique can really help keep conversations flowing smoothly. I know I've tried this myself. Just picking up a cue from what someone says, repeating it, then shifting gears with "speaking of that," and asking an open-ended question. It feels natural, almost effortless.
I get that, Maya, but hold on a second. I don't buy that it works so easily for everyone. What if you don't pick up the right cue? Or worse, you pick the wrong moment to shift gears, and the other person gets confused or feels the topic is being pushed too fast. Sometimes forcing a new topic just kills the vibe even more.
That's a fair concern, Leo. But isn't it better to try bridging than staying in silence? From my experience, even a small comment like, "That's really interesting," before introducing a new topic helps the other person feel heard. It's about connection, not pushing.
Maybe, but sometimes I think people just want to finish one topic before moving on. If you interrupt with, "By the way," too soon, it could seem like you're not really listening or that you're impatient.
You're right, timing matters. But using an open-ended question can invite the other person to share more, giving them space rather than cutting them off. For example, after talking about work stress, asking, "What do you usually do to relax?" keeps the flow going and it's still related.
Okay, but what about the idea of always needing to bridge every topic? Conversations don't always have to be linked perfectly. Sometimes a pause or shift is natural. Trying to bridge everything might feel forced or robotic.
I see your point, Leo, but for many learners, especially in English, that pause often feels awkward and causes anxiety. They're afraid of silence, so this technique serves as a useful tool to feel more confident. It doesn't mean you can't also enjoy natural pauses, but it helps when you want to avoid awkwardness.
True, the fear of silence can be real, but I wonder if focusing too much on shifting gears distracts from really listening to what the other person is saying. Like, if you're always thinking about your next question, are you really present?
Great point. I'd say the technique actually encourages better listening. You have to catch the cue, the signal that the topic is wrapping up or that there's something to connect to. Without listening carefully, you can't bridge effectively.
Fair enough, although sometimes I think people overthink it. They polish every move instead of just chatting naturally. Maybe some of us just need to relax and let the conversation flow however it wants.
A balance, then? Use the topic bridge when the conversation hits a snag, but otherwise just enjoy the flow. That sounds reasonable.
Yes. Also, what about cultural differences? In some cultures, silence isn't awkward at all, it's respectful. So the pressure to bridge or ask open-ended questions might feel strange or forced.
Culture definitely plays a big role. Our technique is more aimed at contexts where English speakers see silence as uncomfortable and want to keep things lively. But it's always good to adapt to the situation and the people you're with.
One more question. I get the idea of open-ended questions, but aren't those sometimes hard for learners? They can feel pressured to talk more than they want or don't know how to answer fully.
That can happen, but the goal is gentle encouragement, not grilling. Starting with simple, open-ended questions like, "What do you enjoy about?" or "How do you feel about?" lets people share at their own pace. It's about inviting, not forcing.
Okay, I see. So the takeaway is be thoughtful, listen for cues, build a natural bridge, and ask gentle, open-ended questions. But don't overcomplicate or rush things.
Exactly. It's a flexible tool to improve flow without pressure.
I guess I'm convinced it's worth trying. And if it doesn't fit every time, that's okay too.
Spot on. It's all about feeling more confident and connected, which anyone can practice.
All right, Maya. Next step, let's do that role play we promised. Show me how not to do it so I can learn the right way.
Yes, get ready for an awkward moment.
So, I was thinking, your job sounds really stressful. Anyway, what did you eat for lunch?
Wait, Leo, hold on. That was a classic topic kill moment.
Why? I just changed the subject.
You see, jumping from talking about stress to food without a proper cue feels abrupt. It's like slamming the brakes on a conversation and shifting gears too fast.
I get it now. So what would sound better?
Try these instead. That sounds really tough. You're dealing with a lot. By the way, have you found any good ways to relax recently? Or, speaking of work stress, Have you watched any good movies to unwind?
Speaking of work stress, have you watched any good movies to unwind?
Perfect. You repeated the main point, added a smooth bridge with speaking of, and asked a relevant, open-ended question.
Way better than anyway, what did you eat for lunch?
Exactly.
It's not just what you say, but how you connect ideas. That's the bridge.
And building that connection helps the conversation flow naturally. So we've talked about how important it is to bridge topics smoothly by catching cues and asking open-ended questions.
Right. These tools really keep the flow going, making conversations feel natural and easy.
And the great thing is, these aren't just ideas, they're practical phrases you can use anytime.
Exactly. And to help you remember, we've picked 5 key expressions that show up in today's stories and tips.
Stay with us for our word tour next. We'll break each phrase down in real-life context so you can use them confidently in your chat. So, we've seen how bridging topics well can keep a conversation flowing naturally, especially by picking up on cues and asking open-ended questions.
Exactly. These techniques make chatting less stressful and more fun, no matter if it's online or in person.
And what's really helpful is that these aren't just abstract ideas, they're phrases you can actually use right away.
That's why we've chosen 5 key expressions from today's talk that you'll want to add to your English toolkit.
So stay tuned for our word tour, where we'll dive into each phrase with examples that make it easy to remember and apply. So, we've walked through how tricky it can be when a conversation suddenly runs out of steam, right? That awkward silence where you just don't know what to say next.
Exactly. But now you've got a useful tool, the topic bridge technique, to keep your chats flowing smoothly. Remember, it's all about listening carefully for cues, repeating a key idea, then shifting gears naturally with an open-ended question.
Here are a couple of quick tips you can try. First, really focus on what your friend just said. That's your cue. Second, use phrases like "speaking of that" or "by the way" to lead into a new topic. And lastly, always try to ask an open-ended question that invites more than a simple yes or no.
You know, I used to freeze up a lot in conversations, especially on Zoom calls. But when I started using this approach, I noticed the chat not only lasted longer, but actually got more interesting. It's like building a bridge that connects ideas so smoothly, you barely feel the transition.
That's such a good point. It takes practice, but once you get the hang of it, your communication feels more confident, and honestly, that confidence shines through in every chat.
So why not try this in your next conversation? Maybe with a friend, coworker, or even during an online meeting. Notice the cues, bridge your topics, and watch how your flow improves.
And if it feels awkward at first, that's totally normal. Every new skill takes time. Just keep practicing and remember you're building stronger connections with every conversation.
Next time, we'll dive into how to sound really natural when giving opinions in English. That's going to be super useful for those longer conversations.
Before you go, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments what's one situation where you feel stuck in English conversations. We read every single comment.
Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.
Thanks for joining us.